Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that I think gets overlooked a lot, but is so critical.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about the nightly routine. You handed us this great stack of sources, all detailing these successful strategies for winding down.
Right.
And our mission today is really simple: to pull out the practical, high leverage habits that can instantly help you switch off that, busy mode.
Yeah, and it's not just about sleep, is it? It's about managing the transition.
The transition, that's a great way to put it.
The sources, they show that everyone, whether you're an early riser or a total night owl, everyone shares this one universal problem. It's this friction. The friction you get when you try to go from, high gear thinking to just complete rest.
I love that framing, managing the friction, because just closing the laptop, that doesn't magically silence the mental to-do list.
Not at all.
And the source material is really clear on this. The first stage of any effective routine has to be that critical transition. It's a conscious, deliberate step away from the day.
Exactly. The very first action after your main work is done, it has to be a mental cue, a signal that the engine is slowing down.
So what did we see? What are some of those cues?
Well, they range from making a cup of herbal tea, which is, a multisensory, low-stakes kind of activity, to listening to some soft instrumental music.
Okay.
But the most powerful initial tactic mentioned was almost deceptively simple. It was just taking a small break, maybe 5 minutes on the sofa, with no screen interaction whatsoever.
That non-action is so counterintuitive for us today, but it makes perfect sense.
It does.
You're basically giving your prefrontal cortex a tiny vacation, a chance to reset before you plunge into the next activity, which for most people is dinner.
And dinner timing, as we saw in the sources, it profoundly influences the whole evening's mood. And, of course, your subsequent sleep quality.
It's not just about calories then.
No, it's about metabolic load.
Right. So we saw two pretty distinct approaches, but both were successful. On one hand, you have the people who really advocate for eating early, say around 7 p.m.
The early eaters.
Their whole logic is, I want my digestive process to be mostly done before I even think about going to bed. The idea is, feeling lighter equals sleeping better.
But then you have the later eaters.
Yes. Pushing dinner to 8, maybe even 8:30.
And they succeed by compensating with extremely simple, quick-to-digest meals. We're talking soups, grilled lean proteins, maybe some light pasta.
So the synthesis here is really crucial. It's less about the actual time on the clock.
It's about the content and the impact. If you eat late, you just cannot overeat, because the massive energy your body needs for digestion will actively fight its attempt to get into deep rest.
So the takeaway isn't eat at 7, it's make sure dinner sets a mood of balance and lightness.
Exactly. You want to avoid those twin traps of being overly full and restless or being hungry and agitated.
And after that balanced meal, what's next? Because the day's residue is still there.
Yeah, what happens next is also highly individualized, but it all serves the same purpose: aid digestion and clear the mind.
We saw that interesting contrast. You have the externalized movement versus the internal tidy up.
Right. One source was a big fan of a short walk, even just 10 minutes.
And they specifically mentioned that it helps clear the mind being in an external environment. It's a physical break that doubles as a mental palate cleanser.
The alternative to that is embracing this sort of domestic tidiness.
Yeah.
Immediately washing the dishes, tidying the kitchen,
Some small, finite housekeeping task.
The word finite is key there. This little activity, it acts as a transitional buffer. It stops your mind from immediately spiraling into heavier work or just passive screen time.
That segues perfectly into what I find is the most common pitfall, that desire to feel productive right before bed.
Yes.
Which brings us to our second phase, productive quiet, managing that light work and mental clutter.
We all feel that appeal of night work, don't we? The house is silent, fewer emails.
Total focus.
But the sources are unanimous here. They all caution against heavy lifting. If you dive into complex problem solving or some high-stakes decision, you're going to spike your cortisol and sleep becomes impossible.
So we need a better definition of light work. It's not about the content, it's about the psychological outcome.
What's the outcome we're looking for?
Closure, not complexity.
Exactly. So light work would be these low-stakes organizational tasks. Clearing out non-urgent emails, planning the next day's schedule, maybe laying out your clothes.
Okay, so like responding to an email that just says, got it, thanks.
Yeah.
But you have to avoid the email that requires you to draft a whole new proposal.
That's the nuance right there. If a task makes you generate a new idea or solve a novel problem, it's too heavy. If it's just about transferring information or ticking a box, it qualifies. The goal is that psychological reward of closure.
So you minimize what the sources called attentional residue.
Yes, that lingering mental energy from unfinished tasks.
That desire for closure, it ties directly into the techniques for cognitive clearing. This is where we shift from, say, organizing your desk to organizing your mind.
And this is where we found some really actionable depth. The sources championed reading and journaling.
But not just write in a diary. They provided a specific high-leverage structure for it.
They did.
Yeah.
A structure designed to slow your thoughts and get all those anxieties out on paper.
Okay, let's pause on that for a second because this is the structure technique that really jumped out at me, the 3-point journaling system.
Mm-hmm.
So just to recap for everyone, what are those 3 points again?
It's really simple. Number 1, something good that happened today.
Okay.
2, something you learned today.
Got it.
And 3, something you want to improve or address tomorrow.
So why is that structure so much better than just free-form writing, where you might just, vent about your day?
Because free-form writing, while it can be cathartic, it also risks spiraling you into these anxiety loops. You just end up relitigating conflicts or worries. This 3-point system, it's like therapeutic architecture. First, listing something good forces a cognitive shift. It makes you find some gratitude, ending the day on a positive note no matter what happened.
It recontextualizes the whole day's value.
Precisely. Second, something learned affirms your own competence and growth. It shows the day wasn't just a grind, it had value. And most critically, that third point, something to improve, that is your cognitive dumping mechanism. Instead of letting a worrying thought or task just repeat in your mind.
You externalize it.
You write it down, you acknowledge it, and you mentally defer it to tomorrow.
You've essentially taken an abstract worry and turned it into a concrete to-do item for later, giving your brain permission to just stop processing it right now.
It's the ultimate tool for reducing mental clutter, and the cost of not doing this is perfectly summed up in that anecdote from one of the sources.
The midnight task trap, I love that phrase.
Right.
That detail really sticks with you because we've all been there. Lying in bed, you realize you forgot to do one tiny thing.
Set the dishwasher. Send one quick text.
And suddenly, that small oversight is just repeating itself over and over, stealing your sleep. It's the perfect illustration of why you need closure.
Absolutely. That anxiety trap is usually a failure in this phase. In phase 2, if you manage your light work and clear your mind with that structured journal, you pretty much eliminate the need for those midnight fixes.
So once the mental work is managed, we can move on to phase 3. Self-care, relaxation, and the technology boundary. We need to physically prepare the body.
Yeah, the sources here really focus on releasing the day's physical tension. Simple self-care, simple stretching, not a full yoga session, just enough to ease any stiffness.
And auditory cues were important too.
Very. Listening to calm background sounds, like rain or ocean waves, or even an audiobook, keeps the mind gently occupied without stimulating deep thought.
But the moment that progress is made, we hit the biggest modern hurdle.
The screen problem.
The screen problem. The consensus across all the source material is that screens are just the enemy of winding down.
And this is where we get the most important, probably the most non-negotiable, actionable takeaway of this entire deep dive.
The 30-minute rule.
The 30-minute rule. The specific advice is to keep your phone away, avoid all screens, for at least 30 minutes before you intend to sleep.
30 minutes. That sounds challenging for a lot of people, especially if their phone is their alarm clock or their Kindle. Why exactly 30 minutes? What's so critical about that buffer?
It all comes down to light exposure and melatonin.
Okay.
Your screens, especially the blue light frequencies from phones and tablets, they actively suppress your body's natural release of melatonin.
Which is the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep.
Exactly. It completely confuses your brain's internal clock. A half hour is really the minimum buffer your brain needs to start reliably producing those natural sleep signals again.
So when you're scrolling on social media or watching YouTube shorts in bed, you are literally, chemically fighting your own ability to sleep deeply.
It is the ultimate nighttime pitfall. It's the single highest impact failure point. If you only do one thing from this entire discussion, it has to be establishing and then defending that 30-minute phone-free zone.
Okay, which brings us to phase 4. Final preparations and sleep goals. These are the micro steps right before the lights truly go out.
These are all designed to regulate your body's internal systems and optimize the environment. So dimming the lights is a big one. using low wattage lamps, not harsh overheads.
It's a gentle visual cue.
It is. Slow, focused breathing for a minute can help regulate your heart rate. And many of the sources mention drinking a little bit of warm water, which can be physiologically calming.
I found the environmental optimization part really interesting. This habit of adjusting room temperature to be cooler and, crucially, making sure the room is tidy.
Ah, the tidy mind, tidy room connection.
There's a specific belief there. A clean room aids in better sleep. Is that just anecdotal?
Not really. It's rooted in how we process our environment. If your room is chaotic, piles of clothes, scattered papers, your brain is constantly using up little bits of cognitive resources.
That attentional residue again.
Yes, it's processing that visual clutter, even when you're trying to relax.
So by tidying up, you're removing these low-grade stimuli that could inadvertently keep your mind running in the background.
Precisely. You're creating a calm, controlled space that matches the calm, controlled mental state you've been building all evening.
And finally, the goal, the sleep duration itself. Across all these different successful routines, there was a very consistent target.
7 hours.
7 hours.
7 hours is the productivity sweet spot they all identified. Less than that, and everyone reports feeling it the next day, diminished cognitive function. Hitting that mark is the benchmark for the whole strategy.
So if the prep work is successful, these 7 hours of high-quality sleep should follow naturally.
That's the idea.
Okay, so what does this all synthesize into for you, the listener? We've pulled out 3 incredibly powerful pillars from this deep dive that can give immediate structure to your own efforts.
Right. First, establish and fiercely protect that non-negotiable 30-minute phone-free zone before bed. That's for your melatonin.
Second, adopt the structured 3-point journaling system. Something good, something learned, something to improve. That's how you beat the midnight task trap.
And third, use that consistent 7-hour target as your metric. It's how you evaluate if your evening rituals are actually working. If you're hitting 7 hours of good, restorative sleep, you know your strategy is on point.
Talking about this, and more importantly, implementing these routines, it really shifts the definition of rest from just a passive collapse at the end of the day to an active preparation.
You're building momentum for tomorrow tonight.
Exactly.
And here's a provocative final thought for you to chew on tonight. It builds on that critical insight that a tidy room helps sleep by reducing visual clutter. If removing that external chaos is so key to mental calm, what one small 5-minute organizational task, just 5 minutes, could you do right now to improve your environment and, by extension, your mental state before you even dim the lights?
The highest return on investment is often in the smallest, most intentional action.
Absolutely.
Implement one of these insights tonight. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.